It's not my fault. I'm in menopause. I'm on a bunch of medications. I have an illness. It's not my fault. I'm sick. My name's Coach Kathy Richardson, and I'm a certified weight loss coach here in Canada, and I've lost 150 pounds. And let me tell you something, my inbox is full all the time, and it's full of statements like this. And sometimes there are very valid reasons for why we can't lose weight. And I'm not saying that some of those situations and scenarios don't play a part, but oftentimes we're looking for an excuse or for a reason or to place blame somewhere else instead of probably where it needs to go. So this is going to be a little bit of tough love, guys. And I'm giving you this because I want you to be successful like I've been successful. And that only happens through some self-awareness, some self-assessment, and some admitting that we're part of the problem. If you've listened to the radio for even a minute lately, you've probably heard Taylor Swift on there. And her new current song is called It's Me, I'm the Problem, It's Me. She says that a lot in the song. And yikes, that's uncomfortable to think about, isn't it? I can remember, I've been there, guys. I used to weigh almost 300 pounds. And I can remember being in the doctor's office and almost like hoping I had an affliction that the side effect was weight loss. And I was on a lot of medication that did have weight gain as a side effect. And I can remember hoping I'd even get a diagnosis that would be like the excuse and the reason, like, okay, well, that's why I'm overweight. Because then I wouldn't have to actually admit that I was eating things I shouldn't, or even if I was eating things I should, I was eating too much of them. And, this aha moment or this self awareness, it doesn't come overnight, but it does need to come. And so that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. No matter where you are in your weight loss journey, at some point, we're going to have to realize that if we are obese, morbidly obese, or even if we're overweight, that happens only through overconsumption. Now, what drove us to overconsume or what led us to, feel hungrier more often? I mean, there's a lot of biomechanical things that go on, and we can get really sciencey. I know you see these degrees here. I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, and I'm not going to play one on YouTube either. There are actual legitimate medical reasons why it's easier for some of us to gain weight. But at the end of the day, this motion is what makes us gain weight. At some point, the law of thermodynamics does apply, and it always applies. It's a scientific law, it cannot be broken. If you are over consuming and you are over consuming sometimes the wrong things, you're going to gain weight. There's only one way we gain weight. So many people like to talk about the starvation mode, and that's really the boogeyman of weight loss, and it's definitely the boogeyman of fasting. But science tells us otherwise, and history tells us otherwise. When you look at the people who came out of the concentration camps or people who've been prisoners of war and who have been starved, none of them came out weighing more. So, it is what it is, and it's time to get real with ourselves. And like Taylor Swift said, it's me, I'm the problem. But that's a good thing because that also means you're the solution. If you're the problem, you're also the solution. And again, back to the medical part too, I'm not poo-pooing that. And I'm not medical shaming anyone, because if anybody understands that, it's me. I used to weigh almost 300 pounds. I was on 15 different medications, many of which had weight gain as a side effect. I was inactive because of my multiple sclerosis. There were many weeks that I hardly got off the couch. So I understand and I get where you're coming from. And I know what it's like to feel like you're fighting a losing battle. I have an adrenal tumor that produces a buttload of cortisol, which jacks up my systemic inflammation and makes weight loss very hard. And it actually mimics PCOS for those of you that do suffer with that. And I have by times had an underactive thyroid too. So these are all things that can contribute. But if I'm being totally honest with myself, I was part of the problem too. I really was. It wasn't just hormones. It wasn't just menopause. I mean, I was perimenopause when I first started this weight loss journey, and I'm in full-blown menopause now. And guess what, guys? I'm maintaining my weight in full-blown menopause and still with MS and still as a cancer survivor and still having hormonal imbalances because of that adrenal tumor. Even after all of that, I'm still maintaining my 150-pound weight loss because I've controlled my eating. And that's what I think I want us to come to the realization of today. I hated even using the word obesity. I'd rather refer to myself as fat. It was easier for me to be like, hey, I'm Kathy and I've got cancer, or hey, I'm fat. I used to joke and be like, God didn't make me skinny because he knew what I'd wear. And I just joked my way through my obesity. But I'll tell you something, it wasn't a joke when I sat down at a doctor's office and he looked me straight in the face and he said, if you continue on this journey with one kidney and at this weight, you're not going to have a 70th birthday. You might not even have a 60th birthday. That sobers you up really quick. And, there were many times when I watched my kids go for walks in the woods with my husband because I was too sick and too tired and too overweight and too low energy to go with them. We all have those humbling moments, and we all have those moments where eventually our obesity does catch up with us. So if you hear jingling in the background, that's my dog, Rusty. He can't decide if he wants to be upstairs in my office with me or downstairs. So gotta love poodles. Anyways, at some point, it did come down to being told by a bariatric surgeon and him saying, you have a disease called obesity. It's not your fault, but you can do something about it. And so I'm going to sit here today as a weight loss coach and say, you are overweight, or you are obese, or maybe you are morbidly obese, and it's not all your fault, but you can do something about it. So let's just kind of AA it a little bit today, and let's just say it out loud and put it out into the atmosphere that we have a problem and we can have a solution. So I want you to say, my name is blank and I am blank because my eating is out of control. So although I'm not obese anymore, I do still have the disease of obesity because when I became obese, I gave myself that disease for life and, coupled with a lot of different situations. But you're never unobese. So I don't have a BMI that says that I'm obese anymore, but on a cellular level, I am and always will be obese. So for that intents and purposes, I'm going to say this, but I don't want to be like, oh my God, Kathy thinks she's obese. No, I realize my BMI is 19.5. I have a completely normal BMI. I'm a completely healthy weight. I do not think I'm an obese individual, but I do have the disease of obesity. So this is what I'm going to say for this. My name is Kathy Richardson, and I'm obese because my eating was out of control. So I want you to fill in the blanks. Say your name and say whether you're overweight or you're obese or you're morbidly obese, and just say it. Say it out loud. It's okay, because you can't fix a problem that you're not willing to admit exists. So instead of saying, I'm Kathy Richardson and I'm old. I'm Kathy Richardson and I have a disability. I'm Kathy Richardson and I have a sickness. I'm Kathy Richardson and I have a hormone imbalance. And that's why I'm overweight. And that's why I'm overweight. And I'm Kathy Richardson and I clean my kids' plates off because I don't want to see food wasted. Or I'm Kathy Richardson and I have a spouse who puts things in front of me and I can't help it and I can't resist it. No, I'm Kathy Richardson and I have the disease of obesity because my eating was out of control. There, I said it out loud. I want you to do the same. We're going to add something to the end of that sentence. This is what I want you to add. I'm Kathy Richardson, and I am obese because my eating was out of control. But today, I choose to do something about it for the rest of my life. That's the difference. And we're putting that out there. We're putting it out there for everybody to hear. We're admitting that we're part of the problem, but we're also recognizing that we are the solution. In the spiritual community, we would call this speaking life. The Bible says the power of life and death is in the tongue. And the tongue is a very powerful part of our body. And even though it's small, it can have great effects. And that's true in this instance. I want you to admit that there's a problem and admit that there's a solution. And say today that today is the first day of the rest of your life that you're going to do something about it. And that is a major, major step in recovery and in success. So I just want to get that out there and get comfortable with saying it. Like it felt icky to say that I was obese or I had obesity or that I had another disease or that I was morbidly obese. It didn't feel good, but the more I've said it now, I don't care. I'll shout it from the rooftops because I can't be an overcomer of something that I wouldn't admit even existed. It'd be like telling an alcoholic who's celebrating, 25 years of being alcohol free, like you really shouldn't admit you were an alcoholic. Like say it, it's okay. And guess what? You're not going to surprise anybody because I was in denial about how big I was for a long time too. When I was really big, I didn't think I was that big. And I didn't need somebody telling me what I wanted to hear. I needed somebody to tell me what I did need to hear. And so many people were afraid of doing it. So if you don't have anybody in your life to speak that truth to you, speak it to yourself and do it for yourself, because this is all part of our healing journey. And we will heal and we can heal. And I'm proof of that, guys. I had every odd stacked against me, and I'm sitting in front of you now as a weight loss coach. It's possible. Believe that it's possible. Never lose hope that it's not possible. You're never too far gone that you can't start working on yourself or continue working on yourself. If you're some of the people that were part of the 30-day challenge and we're almost done, big congratulations. That's huge. That is a huge, huge, huge step into keeping this going and finally getting to a healthy weight. It's a huge step to achieving goals, and everybody's goals are going to look different. Not everybody's goals are a number on the scale, and I really hope yours isn't either, and even a BMI number. I hope your goals are more reasonable. Like one of mine was I wanted to be able to wear a belt. I had been 25 years that I couldn't feel comfortable tucking in a shirt and then wearing a belt. And the day that I got to do that, like I did the ugly cry, you guys. I'm telling you, I understand. If you're new to this channel or you don't know me and you don't know what my life of obesity for 25 years looked like, trust me when I tell you, I understand. You'll hear me say I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, and I probably ate before, during, and after too. I'm a foodie. I love food. I do freelance food reviews on the side. So I understand. I understand. But where we go from here really matters. So, let's just continue on with this plan that I've been teaching you. I've been teaching you that for the majority of people, restriction doesn't work. And that's always, nothing's going to convince me otherwise now. I might be an N1, like in the science world, that's like a science experiment of one, but I don't care if this is just me. But I can, with full confidence now, having done every diet under the sun, having had bariatric surgery, having been an exercise crazy head for a while, I can tell you that extreme restriction is not sustainable for the majority of people. And I don't need to be an N1 here, because we see this all the time with people who have lost a ton of weight and then they don't maintain that weight. Or we see that with post-ops in bariatric who lose a pile of weight and then 3 or 5 years later, they've gained most or all of it back and then some. And so what it comes down to is it looks like we're all really good at losing weight. We're just not good at keeping it off. And that's what I want to stop too. That is part of what propelled me to become a weight loss coach in the first place, was to help people maintain and sustain and longevity with weight loss and weight maintenance. We often talk a lot about weight loss. There's so much focus on weight loss, but go to a Weight Watchers meeting and see how much they talk about weight maintenance. Go to a Jenny Craig meeting and see how many vets they have there that have a 20-year gold star and they've maintained all of their weight loss. Like it's not common, guys. So a lot of you were like I was, we're really good at losing weight. We just weren't good at keeping it off. So that's going to change though. That changes with me as your coach, and that changes today. So with diets, everybody's worried about the secret sauce of what not to eat. And they think like, if I just don't eat this laundry list of foods, then I'm going to lose a pile of weight. But the secret is found in all foods, because we can have all foods. Now, pause. I always have a but, and my butts are big. So here's your big but. This doesn't apply. This restriction mentality or food elimination doesn't apply if you have a food allergy. Like, let's use some common sense here, guys. If you have a food allergy or if you have a food intolerance, I'm not telling you to throw caution to the wind and go eat that stuff anyways. I don't want you to have anaphylactic shock. I don't want you to have explosive diarrhea if you have an intolerance to lactose. I'm not saying go eat all the ice cream anyway and forget that and live your life and YOLO. Like, no, I mean, obviously, if some things don't agree with you, then don't. If you have an allergy, definitely don't. But if it makes you feel bad, don't eat it. Like, I don't have a gluten intolerance, or I shouldn't say like I don't have an allergy. I was actually tested to see if I had celiac. I don't. I was told I had like non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And I do believe that's true to some point, but I can have a little bit of it. But if I kept eating it and I felt like crap, then I wouldn't keep eating it. So you know your body well. You're not probably 5 years old and watching this, so you know what works for you and what doesn't. But I'm speaking to restriction solely for the purpose of weight loss. Like if you're still doing that and you're white knuckling it, white knuckles always let go. You picture people in these army movies and, they're holding on to that bar and then slowly the fingers start going and then this hand's gone and then they're hanging on and eventually they drop. So this is why the regain happens, because eventually they drop. If we don't learn how to do this the right way and we're just hanging on for dear life, you can't hang on forever. So let's just get off that crazy train. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting different results. That is crazy. That is insane. That's the crazy train, and we're hopping off the station. So we need to learn how to eat the foods that we love and do so in a way that they don't make our life shorter. You'll hear me say that. Life is too short not to eat the foods you love, but you got to make sure the foods you love don't make your life short. So there's a right and a wrong way to do this. And, this really is going to bring about some offenses to people. And I'm not trying to offend anyone. If you're one of that small subsect of people who can absolutely do strict keto for the rest of your life, you go. I mean, you do it. I'm not your gatekeeper. I'm not your babysitter. Jordan Peterson and his daughter, Michaela, have done carnivore for over 5 years, and they both love it, and there's no looking back for them. There is a small group of people who can do this, but the majority of people, and all of you guys in my inbox, you're not that. That's not you. That's most people. Extreme restriction doesn't work. So that's why we need to decide what next. We know we tried that and maybe we even lost weight doing it, but it wasn't sustainable. Didn't have longevity involved. So for those of you that this does apply, and I do believe this is the majority of you, that's why we're going to look at things like intermittent fasting. That's why we're going to look at tools like the 80-20 rule, which is going to give us the grace to eat 20% of whatever we want during the week, because the other 80% of the week we were eating foods that put us towards our weight loss goals, so that 20% of the time we can have stuff that is just not going to put us towards our weight loss goals. And if you never learn how to deal with the mental game that's happening, this is all mental. When we decide to put that hand to mouth, it's because we made the decision to do it. We might be on medications that give us cravings, or we might be trying to fill an emotional void. We might be emotional eaters. We might even have food addiction that compels us. But ultimately, that hand to mouth decision is a decision that we consciously make. There is no food demon that possesses us and we just go eat, 5,000 calories and we don't know what happened, That's just not the case. So again, this is tough love, and it's accountability, and it's admitting that we are part of the problem so we can be part of the solution. And this is why we need to deal with this, because if we don't, then, we don't need anybody walking around on eggshells around us for the rest of our lives. Like maybe your husband likes Reese's and he can have one a day and that's enough. But I see in my inbox, I see in conversations on Facebook all the time of people saying I can't have that in the house because if I did, I'd eat the whole thing. Well, why? Do you really think that you are not strong enough or you aren't capable enough to use portion control or what? Maybe in the beginning, maybe not. And I'm okay with that. I'm all for doing a pantry purge before you start this journey. But through time and through practicing the 80-20 rule and through, even metabolic healing, and once you are progressing on this journey, you're going to be able to be around a dish full of candy in someone's home or even in your home, and you're not going to need to clean the whole thing out. We need to stop speaking that over ourselves and telling ourselves those lies that I can't buy that because I'll eat the whole thing. Maybe right now, but not always. And so food freedom takes time. Nobody does this right in the beginning, and nobody does this right all the time. And food freedom is learned. Intuitive eating is learned. Breaking bad habits is learned, and forming new good habits is learned. This is all going to take time, but stop telling yourself it's not possible. This is a big part of tough love too, is actually not having that excuse to fall back on. What do you do when you don't have the excuse of, oh, I can't be around it because I can't stop myself? Okay, we know that's a lie, and we know that is a bad habit that can be broken, but some of you guys don't want to break it because you want to be able to use that as an excuse. It's just another excuse in our playbook. We have a huge, huge list of excuses that we're putting in our book, and we keep reading that to ourselves all the time. But it's time to just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Stop the lies. Let's move forward. And how are we going to do that? This is how we're going to do that. We're going to move forward by really enjoying those 20%. We're going to move forward by having the grace to know that it's okay to have 1 or 2 meals a week and 1 snack a week that doesn't look like what we're eating the rest of the week, because we're going to do it in a way that's controlled and calm, and we're going to stop at satisfied. We're not going to eat until stuffed. And that applies even to the 80% too. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stop eating to stuffed. We're going to stop eating at enough, satisfied, enough, content. We know we've had enough and we don't need to keep going. And we know if we do keep going, it's going to hurt. It's going to cause indigestion. It's going to cause guilt and shame. We know when we've reached that point, and I've talked about it in videos past about using the halftime, like taking your plate, dividing it in half, eating half of it, and assessing. Always stop eating for a little bit, take a pause, and assess what's going on. And another good way to do that too is to sit while you're eating. If you're standing at the counter and hoovering, and or if you're at your snack pantry, or if you're at the fridge and you're just shoveling, if you're not actually sitting down and putting that food on a plate, you're not really giving yourself the opportunity for your brain and your stomach to speak to each other so that they know that satiety has happened. So that's really important. And on that note too, and back to the temptation thing, if you need it out of sight, out of mind in the beginning, that's okay. Get it out of sight. After you've had your supper, if you don't have enough to save, put it in the garbage, put your dishes in the dishwasher, and be done with it for the evening. Don't leave that plate sitting out so you can keep walking by and picking at it. You know, if you have, I'm all for saving food. You know, if you have enough to save for a snack the next day or for a meal, package it up, put it away, get it off the counter, get it off that stove, just put it away. So stop eating it enough. Visual cues can be taken out of sight for a little while, but one that we're not talking about enough, and I'm probably going to do a whole video on it, is sleep. Sleep is such an integral part of your weight loss journey for the rest of your life. When we get 8 hours of quality sleep that involves REM, which is rapid eye movement, and it's that deep sleep, there's light sleep and deep sleep. When we get into that deep sleep, that's what shuts cortisol down. That's what heals muscles if we've exercised and damaged them. That's where our immune boosting happens. That's where fat loss happens. That, for that reason alone, should encourage you to shut your phone off, shut the TV off, go to bed earlier, and then you're not tempted to eat at night either. Never underestimate the power that good quality sleep has on your health journey and on your weight loss journey. And we all know drinking water is a no-brainer. Now, as far as putting Mio in it or using Crystal Light or whatever, I want you to use the good, better, best scenario in all things. We know it's good to not drink pop. We know it's better to choose something sugar-free over sugar, but we know it's best to have just plain water or unsweetened tea or unsweetened coffee. So, there is good, better, best. Make your decision for you at that moment. Again, I'm not your gatekeeper. I'm not going to tell you specifically what you can and can't eat or what sweeteners you should and shouldn't use. We can discuss those and discuss why you want to make that decision. But ultimately, just like this is your decision, so is the decision for what you're going to use for sweeteners. So we won't get into that today, but please be drinking your water. Now, I'm not saying drink half your body weight in water. That actually drives me crazy. A 400-pound person does not need to be drinking 200 ounces of water a day unless they're doing like Ironman competitions in Arizona in August. So, common sense always prevails. 6 glasses of water a day would be the bare bones minimum for anyone, even myself that only has 1 kidney, but 8's better than that. And, if you go beyond that, that's fine. But look at the color of your pee. It should be light yellow. If it's completely clear, you're drinking too much. If it looks like tea, then you should probably go to the doctor. But, dark yellow or slightly amber, you're not drinking enough. So look at your pee. Your pee will always tell you. So you're different than I am. You might be male, you might be female, you might be obese, you might be a healthy weight, and you're still just watching this just for fun. Your urine will always tell you the true story of your hydration level. So another one that we need to cut out, though, is stop eating if you're not hungry. I don't care what diet you're doing, what method of eating you're doing. If you're eating when you're not hungry, that is the wrong time to eat. If hunger isn't the problem, food isn't the solution. Stop believing lies like you need to eat 6 small meals a day or you're just going to be obese forever. Or stop believing that you need to set a timer to eat and pause. Here's another but. It's a big but. If I have a but, it's going to be a big one. if you are a post-op bariatric within months 1 to 12, you do need to set a timer and you do need to eat every 2 hours. But if you're not in that box, this doesn't apply to you. So let's just stop the mindless eating, stop the habit eating, stop the boredom eating, and definitely stop the emotional eating. And if you have a food addiction and you can't stop, reach out and get help. And that means not grazing all day too. This kind of falls in line with that. If you're grazing and eating a little bit all day, you're not hungry all day. Nobody's hungry all day. If you are, then you didn't eat enough, or you didn't eat enough protein, and you definitely didn't eat enough healthy fat. So if you're grazing all day, it's probably on something like crackers or chips or pretzels, because you can eat and eat, and popcorn. You can eat that and never feel full. So all that's going to do is jack your blood glucose up, which is then going to have a high insulin response. Insulin and fat loss cannot coexist. So we need to stop eliciting an insulin response all the time. That's just going to perpetuate insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes and obesity and all those secondary and tertiary diseases that come along with it. And if you are fasting, keep fasting. That intermittent fasting is always going to be a very powerful tool in the weight loss toolbox. And if you don't fast at all, that's fine too. But for longevity, and if you haven't tried it yet, I do suggest you try it. We have all kinds of videos that have to do with fasting. If you have any questions, comment down below and I'll try to answer them. But in a nutshell, stop at enough. Stop eating when you're not hungry. Make sure you get some sleep. Drink your water. Don't graze all day. Sit down when you're eating and enjoy your food. And again, let common sense prevail. But if we do these things in addition to fixing the mindset, guys, like really having that tough love with ourselves and admitting that we are part of the problem. It's not because of our age. It's not because of menopause. It's not because of a disability or a sickness. If we admit we're part of the problem, that's the only way we can be part of the solution. And I'm telling you this because I care about you and because I want you to know how good food freedom feels. I want you to know how good it feels to have those goals met, no matter what they are for you. If it's a pant size, or if it's being able to complete a 5K, or if it's even just being able to walk to the mailbox and back and not lose your breath. We all have different goals. We all have different starting points. We're all going to have different ending points, but we need to keep that journey going in the right direction. And that's only going to happen by admitting that we're part of the problem so that we can be part of the solution. I hope this has helped you. If you have any other questions, let me know. Please hit like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can keep seeing awesome content like this. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.